The BDSM experience is different for men and women in several ways. While these are generalizations, there's some truth to these things. Women are more careful about meeting men. Women may be looking for romance and affection, a relationship. Well, men often just want sex. Women tend to get pushed into things they really don't want to do just to keep the peace. I'm Primal Piggy. Thank you for listening today to another BDSM United podcast. In this podcast, we're talking about a really hot topic, a topic that not a lot of people talk about. But the name of the show today is Becoming a Male Submissive. You can find me on Facebook at The Primal Piggy. It's all one word. Or you can find me as an admin of a rather large Facebook page called Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape. You can find that page at WCDT BDSM. You can also find us on the web at BDSMUnited.com. We often hear people, usually men, claiming that dominant women are rare. In our experience, this really isn't true. We encounter many women who would enjoy dominating men if they could find one who meets their needs. Being a male submissive probably isn't what you think it is at all. There are very few men who understand what a dominant woman is looking for, what she actually wants. And just so you know, today's episode originally came from a dominant woman named Darla Darling, so I'm not mansplaining this. My submissive also has past experience as a dame, and so she echoes these thoughts, and we've discussed this topic before. A typical dame does not want to be the dominant you see in pornography. If you're looking for a woman to fulfill all your porno fantasies of what male submission should be, perhaps you should pay for it. Professional sex workers, they'll dress the part, they'll read from whatever script you want, and they'll do it your way as long as safety is considered, and they'll give you what you want as you expect to have it. Real women who are dominant, just because they want to, will want to do things their own way. Real women dames have their own fantasies, their own desires, and plans for play or teasing or romance, seduction, torment, and all of their own fetishes and kinks. They will want to please. They will want you to please them, and that may not include any of the fetishes and kinks that you've been fantasizing about. A real woman may not want a man slobbering on her shoes or expecting to wear her underwear, for instance. Some women may like the idea of training men to submit, while others they think they should already be housebroken. Worship and begging may not appeal to her. Generally, both of these are a turnoff. The real appeal of having a male submissive is that he be a man, strong, clever, manly, and yet submissive. So retain your dignity and be a male submissive worth having and keeping. So before you begin, decide if you actually want the reality. Do you want a woman telling you what to do? Are you willing to be disappointed when she isn't interested in doing what you want the way you want it? Will you let her lead, or will you try to pressure her into giving you what you want instead? Don't manipulate your dame. Yes, it's fun to have the erotic play of teasing, denial, struggling, or whatnot, but it should be sincerely part of the fun and not topping from the bottom. Two people sincerely invested in a DS, a Dom sub relationship can have a lot of fun, a lot of pleasure, and they can have a lot of explorations. If you top from the bottom, in other words, if you manipulate your Dame, you cheat yourself from ever having the real experience of submitting, of serving, and discovering the pleasure of being a male submissive in reality. Also, no dominant woman likes to be manipulated. They get this from almost every so-called male sub on dating sites. It's really discouraging. If you wonder why there are so few women into dominating, this would be the number one reason. If you can't let go of your expectations, then consider paying for what you want and getting it from a McDominant, paid to do it your way. What are you really willing to do? Too many men have a list of fetish and kink ideas, but no thoughts about reality. This is especially a bad idea when it comes to health and safety. There are several things which sound good on paper or turn you on when you watch a porno video, but reality isn't like that. The reality is messier. Reality is often less planned and less professional. Reality is definitely less perfect, and reality sometimes has accidents and misunderstandings. Never say that you're willing to do anything or everything for a dominant because you aren't. No one is unless it's make believe and it's pretend. You're you're supposed to have boundaries and limits. You're supposed to do negotiations and you're supposed to do vetting. You're not just supposed to pick up and submit to any any woman that acts dominant. Read about the reality of your fetishes and kinks. Instead of watching porn, find someone who really has done it and read about their experience. If you're wondering, you can continue to listen to these podcasts and you can find our educational resources. We talk about Dom and sub relationships all the time, about power exchange and how to do kinks and fetishes safely, consensually. Um, what went wrong? What didn't work? How did they learn to do it better or another way? Research the reality. Even if you have no experience, you can read or learn from the experience of others. Not the porn version. Consider safety and be practical about it. If you have issues such as allergies, maybe you have a phobia, maybe you have trauma, maybe you have mental health issues or physical health issues, maybe you have dislikes, put together a list of all of these different issues. For example, perhaps you don't like having something close around your neck or mouth because you grew up with asthma, or maybe you're allergic to animals, which limits the places or the people that you can spend time with. These are things to be aware of and for yourself and the dominant woman that you would like to meet. Although safety and health are more up to the dame in a DS relationship, you can't expect her to know your needs, to read your mind, to use telepathy to know there's a problem. Also, safe words really aren't that reliable. So you really need to learn how to communicate and how to communicate properly. If there's a real problem, something sudden, you need communication, which won't be forgotten in the moment or confused with something else. A direct, safe word like stop is oftentimes better than trying for some secret code you may not remember when you need it. Using plain words is really important. If you use the safe word for effect rather than actually needing it, the play stops anyways. So respect the safe word if you use it. It's not a game, but also learn about regular talk. Communicate and talk about anything you plan to do. Start simple and leave yourself room to back out or change the plan. You may think you want to start with the hard stuff, but discover your feelings were far more involved when it was actually happening to you. It's possible to discover you have a phobia or an intense dislike and you didn't know you had until you tried something. This can be especially true with bondage. Actually being confined is not just as you imagine it to be. Explore and experiment with baby steps and savor the experiences as you go. Remember that submission, dominance and submission, a dominant and submissive relationship is a journey. Uh, Submission isn't a gift. Years ago, the idea that submission is a gift, it started in online BDSM groups. It really isn't the right attitude. I mean, after all, domination is just as much of a gift if you want to consider either of them a gift at all. Gift, Gifts often don't come with strings attached or expectations, but there are expectations with submission and expectations with having a dominant. You've chosen to submit, and your dame has chosen to lead you, to control you, and to own you up to a point. DS is a limited power exchange, so she won't run every part of your life. She's not likely to want to micromanage you. Being the dame is a responsibility. It's not easy and it's not something to take lightly. People can get hurt physically, mentally, and emotionally. Both of you need to communicate to prevent problems. The gift is really the relationship itself when you can find it. So explore and discover. You know, try blindfolding yourself in your own bed. How does it feel? Does the blindfold itch? Do you feel peaceful? Sit on your hands next time you're alone watching TV. How long can you keep yourself in this level of self bondage? How uncomfortable is it? Sit under a table. Let it become your cage. Does confinement bother you? Do you feel snugly caged or just trapped? Try being naked when you're home alone, with the blinds or the curtain closed. Stand naked in front of the window. Even knowing no one can see you, do you get a thrill or can you not even do it at all? Buy a dog collar for yourself. No one has to know that you don't have a dog or that your dog won't be wearing this one. This is just for experimental purposes. Wear the collar, but wrap it around your wrist the first day and not your neck. And then afterwards, put it around your neck a little bit and see, how do you feel? What kind of emotions come up? Even before you have a dame, you can practice serving her tea. Dress up because nobody wants pubic hair in their teacup. Make a plate up with pretty treats and serve tea in a teapot with a fancy teacup and a saucer for her. Remember, reality is much different from fantasy. The reality isn't the porn version because it's not scripted and the people are not actors or actresses. However, you can actually be one of the people involved rather than watching and wishing from the sidelines. Just make sure you want the reality. Remember, it's a relationship dynamic. So prepare yourself for the relationship. I'm Primal Piggy. You can find me on Facebook at The Primal Piggy, all one word. You can also find me as an admin of Whips, Chains, and Duct Tape, a rather large Facebook page, about 120,000 followers. You can find that on Facebook at WCDT BDSM. You can also find us on the web at BDSMUnited.com. If you're listening on your favorite platform, if you like BDSM educational resources such as this, um, subscribe, like, leave us a review. It allows you to connect with us and it allows others really to find this podcast and connect with these BDSM educational resources. Thank you for listening today and enjoy the process and the journey of finding your dominant partner.